Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, how are you?
Good, how are you, ma'am?
I'm well, thank you. I may or may not use the screen, so I might bring up a paper exhibit to you if I need to.
Yeah, this one doesn't appear to be,
Let me
it's
stop you for a
something's
second.
going on there.
The issue I mentioned to you a minute ago, this screen is flashing.
You know what, Your Honor, why don't you turn it off? I have the exhibits
Yes.
printed out, so if I need
Okay.
Mr. Wagrowski to look at it, I can walk it up to
All
him.
right, you can let RIT know. Okay.
Thank
Go
you, Your
ahead.
Honor. Mr. Wagrowski, in November of 2021, you were employed by the Oakland County Sheriff's Office,
Yes, that's correct.
and you were employed in their computer crimes division.
Correct.
You testified yesterday that the main objective of your position was to obtain evidence for criminal prosecutions.
I'm sorry, main objective
Of your position was to obtain evidence against someone accused of a crime.
on that day of November 30th?
No, as your role with the computer crimes division.
We were looking for evidence if a crime was committed, yes.
And you reviewed electronics,
Correct.
social media accounts,
That's correct.
other similar sources of electronic data,
Correct.
and the goal was to obtain evidence against a person accused of a crime. Is that fair?
Attempting to see if a crime was committed, correct.
Your goal was not to obtain any exculpatory information that would clear someone from a crime. You were looking to see if somebody committed a crime. Is that correct?
That's not true. No, if we find evidence like that, obviously it would be relevant to look further into that, yes.
And you did the same thing in this case. You reviewed the electronics, the social media accounts, and other sources of electronic data.
Correct.
You reviewed cell phones that belonged to James Crumbley.
That's correct.
You identified that there were 3 cell phones, if I recall correctly, from the prosecution's PowerPoint.
Correct.
2 of them had the same phone number.
That is correct.
So there were 2 Android phones that had the same phone number.
Correct.
And then there was a 3rd phone, which you called a burner phone. Or, I'm sorry, excuse me. The prosecution called it a burner phone and you agreed.
Correct.
That's a phone that you buy at, I think you said Walmart or Meijer or a store like that. A track phone, something along those lines.
Correct, yes. Something that's yeah, you can just buy and activate yourself.
And if you know, James Crumbley and his wife were told to get a second phone because they gave their phones to the police that day.
I was not told that, no.
You're not aware if that happened or
I'm
not?
not aware of that happening, no.
While you were in the process of obtaining surveillance footage, you were not aware of the identity of the shooter at Oxford High School.
Not immediately.
And at that point, you don't recall anyone, at that point meaning while you were reviewing the footage at the school, you don't recall anyone saying, oh, it's so-and-so, until at some point later.
Later, within, it was probably, I'd say 25, maybe 30 minutes. We were looking at the video and then someone said his name.
Okay. So, and I'm not going to ask you to say his name. The judge has made orders regarding that. But it wasn't initially, anyone at the school was like, we know who it was this person. Is that accurate?
I believe the person was identified by the deputies that took him into custody, but that wasn't related to us. We were I was in the security room at whatever time it was, and we were just looking for the person that came out with a black zipped up hoodie on.
Okay. For Exhibit 61, and if you need me to pull the exhibit for you, I will.
Yes,
I'll tell
please.
you what it is. Exhibit 61 is a Facebook conversation between James Crumbley and his wife. Did you want to look at it?
Yes, please.
Okay. May I approach, Your Honor?
Sure.
Do you recall reviewing that yesterday?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And that exchange is about James Crumbley's son.
Correct.
You don't know the context of the messages, is that fair?
The context of what was being said, the words speak for them, I don't understand.
Right, the words speak for themselves, right? You know what's on the page.
Correct.
You don't know anything beyond what's on that page.
That's correct.
You talked about texts. May I approach again, Your Honor, to get the exhibit?
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Wagrowski. You talked yesterday about text messages between Mr. Crumbley's son and his friend.
Correct.
You talked about the amount of text messages that there were.
That's correct.
20,000 texts in 11 months, I believe is what you said.
Yes.
Now, are you familiar with how often teenagers text each other?
I have 2 of my own, so yes.
You know that teenagers text a lot?
Yes, they do.
Young people text a lot?
I'm sorry, what?
Young people text a lot?
Yes.
You don't know whether or not 20,000 texts is an abnormal amount of text between 2 teenage friends, or if it's an abnormal amount. Is that fair?
No, I've done teenage cell phones before, and that 20,000 is a lot for that time span.
In April 4th of 2021, you identified a text message between Mr. Crumbley's son and his friend, claiming that his dad told him, his dad being James Crumbley, told him to suck it up and gave him pills. Do you recall reviewing that text yesterday?
Yes.
Now, in that text, you don't know what Mr. Crumbley's son was talking about, that his dad told him to suck up. Is that fair?
Because I believe he told him that he was not feeling well, or if you have the exhibit, I can look at it. I thought there was more context to it prior to suck it up, but then Toll just handed him some pills.
Right. You don't know what the pills were?
I don't know.
Could have been Tylenol.
They talked about Xanax before, James and his wife did.
Not in that communication, correct?
No.
The one on April 4th of 2021.
Correct.
There was also a talk about melatonin.
Yes, there was.
So it's fair to say that you don't know what necessarily was being discussed between Mr. Crumbley's son and his friend on April 4th of 2021.
Again, I thought there was more context before the suck it up, but I don't know exactly what they were.
Let me see if I can pull that. I'll pull the exhibit and we'll come back to it.
Okay.
And the same thing on April 5th of 2021 with the friends. You don't know what the context of the conversation was. You just know what you're reading on a page. Is that fair?
What were they talking about on April 5th?
We'll pull that exhibit and I'll come back to
Okay.
it too. I was going to do it on the screen, but it's not working
You can
today.
do it on the screen if you want. This one was flashing, but we can try again.
It's okay, Judge. We'll move on.
I think you can probably see it from either one of these angles anyway.
You talked about in Exhibit 70 and 71, and I will pull those for you right now. Well, one is it's a placeholder because it was a video, if you recall.
Oh,
May I
yes.
approach, Your Honor?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Exhibit 70 and 71 were a video sent from Mr. Crumbley's son to his friend, correct?
Correct.
And that was a video at 9:31 p.m.
That's correct.
on August 19th of 2021.
Correct.
We saw the video yesterday. It was of Mr. Crumbley's son handling a firearm.
Correct.
You hear the clicking. You hear clicking in the video, if you recall.
After you loaded the magazine into it, yes.
You don't hear any voices,
No.
no other sounds.
No.
In Exhibit 74, you identified that that was a GPS location showing that James Crumbley was at the home
Correct.
at the time that this, or around the time that this video was taken.
That's correct.
Now, from the video that we saw, you don't know if James Crumbley is standing next to his son, correct?
No, I do not.
You don't know if he was standing across from his son, correct?
I do not.
You don't know if he was in a different room and had no idea that his son was handling the firearm, is that correct?
I can't say that because when you rack around into a gun, that slide going forward makes a loud noise. And in a small house, you'd probably hear it.
Probably, but you don't know.
For sure, with him, no, I don't, but it's likely.
And you don't know just by looking at that exhibit what the surrounding circumstances are of that video, is that fair?
What was going on around it outside the video? No, I do not.
You know what that video shows.
Correct.
And that video shows Mr. Crumbley's son handling a firearm and loading a magazine into it, is that correct?
Correct.
Exhibit 72 and 73 are also, if you'd like to look at them,
Please.
there was also a text message between Mr. Crumbley's son and his friend. Again, it's another placeholder because it was a video. May I approach, Your Honor?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that was a video sent to Mr. Crumbley's son's friend at 8/20/21
Correct.
at approximately 12:30 a.m.
That's correct.
In the text, after the video was being sent, Mr. Crumbley's son said to his friend that his dad left a gun out.
Correct.
You don't know if that's true. Is that fair?
I mean, I don't know why he would lie to his friend that he talks to all the time.
You don't know if it's true, correct?
From this, it doesn't say that it's true or not, but I don't know why he would lie.
The words on the page are the words on the page. Is that
That's
accurate?
correct.
You can't go back in time and get the answer, correct? You can't go back to August 20th of 2021 and figure out were you telling the truth that day?
Go back to that day? No. I mean,
Correct.
you could ask the person that sent the text.
Right.